Step into the light and feel the rhythm in your soul. We're taking back the night and losing all control. The brass is screaming loud and the bass is thumping low. Everywhere you look, the neon starts to glow. Swing it high, swing it low. Ooh yeah. Let the music take you where you wanna go. Dance until the morning light begins to show. Swing it high, swing it low. Alright.
For most
Yeah, that's it. Swing it high, swing it low. Ooh yeah. Let the music take you where you wanna go. Dance until the morning.
All right, let's get started. Welcome everybody to Society Past, Present, Future. Please do hit the like button on the way in. Good afternoon. Miss Winter is here. Today's show I want to talk about when did obscenity become art that corporations would put their brand behind. That our cultural system, our government would put their endorsement behind, right? We know that media has to be funded by advertisers. So that means if it appears that media itself is not just reporting on this, but it goes from reporting to a endorsement vibe. I'll give you an example. And I think a lot of us had cultural shock when we started watching shows that, you know, streaming became a big thing, and we started watching all these shows and found out, hey man, I like this show over here. I can't tell you how many, I lost count of how many shows I actually was enjoying, but there was the nudity in the scenes, right? And because I'm a heterosexual, and I'm gonna go ahead and assume that the heterosexual population is larger than the homosexual population. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that because just the mere numbers that's out here of people still being born. I think the heterosexual community was just like blindsided, right? In my opinion, blindsided with how media had embraced a lot of some would call it vulgar. I don't know if get in the comment section. It'd be I'm rebranding my channel, so I don't necessarily think that I may be I'm being picked on right now. It's just that the algorithm doesn't recognize the new name. The algorithm doesn't recognize what my channel was about. So I'm not expecting large numbers at this point in time, and that's okay. We'll get through that because that's part of the process of healing, right? So we want to get away from the trolling. I want to get away from the trolling and stuff like that, and I'm rebranding my YouTube channel as a social science, sociology channel. And there's a lot of content. And I can still do the same content. It's just lighter and safer. So we still will be talking about the same things plus more. It gives us a larger framework to really discuss things, you know. So today I made a little video with some audio, and we can go off of that before we really get started. But I want to talk about Bam's Bunny. Is that's how you say it? I'm not a fan, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a fan. But Bad Bunny and Chappell Roan. I want to look into Chappell. I don't know if this is a what gender Chappell is. I see the breast out. That, you know, Chappell, I guess she wore a dress to the Grammys, where the dress was just hanging on her nipples. Like, when did we get here? When did we start doing this? When was it okay? Did this just like, did this fly under the radar? Did we not notice this? Or was there some pushback when we said, "Hey, we don't really, what's going on here?" Was there some pushback where somebody started saying, "Oh, you're a phobic, you scared? You're scared." People wanna express themselves. Is it expression, or is this some type of agenda to change the culture so that people can become less conservative, right? Hear me out, and I know Winter might agree with me on this. I read all her comments. So that another group of people are allowed to normalize things that otherwise wouldn't be normalized, right? So that process is going to take a while, right? That's not an abrupt process. But what you have to do is get people to slowly loosen the reins on some of their principles. Slowly loosen the reins on some of their principles. And after a while, we get where we're at now. Let's listen to the audio here.
For most of American history, public sexual exposure and gender nonconformity were not understood as expression or art, but as obscenity, deviance, or moral failure. Prior to the mid-20th century, American culture operated under strict legal and social codes governing the body. Hollywood itself was constrained by the Hays Code, enforced from the 1930s through the late 1960s, which prohibited nudity, sexual suggestion, and any challenge to traditional gender roles. During this period, the body was not viewed as a canvas for self-expression. It was a symbol of social order, and violating that order carried real consequences, including censorship, arrest, or career destruction.
So, I'm asking when, but really in reality, before 1960, this type of behavior was not tolerated by Americans. So, you figure that's not even, is that baby boomers? So the people who created the baby boomers, as these people started to die out, right? Not the baby boomers. The people who created the baby boomers. Let me ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT. Who were the... Come on. What are you doing? Who? You gotta be kidding me. Can you knock it off? You're trying to get me to use profanity. I'm not gonna do it. Who were the people That was called the Silent Generation? It says secondary contributors. Some older members of the Silent Generation born 1928 to 1945 also became parents to younger boomers, but they were not mainstream drivers of the boom itself. Yo, bro, why do you be giving me all this type, like, extra information? Hold on. Let me put ChatGPT in its place. That was a lot of information. And they were called the Greatest Generation? That's what they were called? Hold up. Hold up. Let me Google the Greatest Generation. See what Google has to say about this. At this point, ChatGPT could be trolling me. The Greatest Generation, born roughly 1901 to 1927, is defined as the American cohort that came of age during the Great Depression and fought in or supported World War II. Well, I guess that's who I'm talking about. Good golly molly. I never knew they was called the Greatest Generation, which is kind of crazy because I kind of feel they might have been the Greatest Generation. That is the generation of my grandfather, right? And I just felt like my grandfather was a great man, right? He definitely was a manly man. He knew how to do things with his hands. He knew how to get under the hood when he needed to. He knew how to get into the electric closet and tape up some wires and without shocking himself to death. He knew how to improvise on the fly. You understand? That's a man you can't give duct tape to because he's going to improvise on the fly. He knows what he's doing. And he served in World War II too. So, alright. So that's who we was talking about. The greatest generation ever. I don't think the greatest generation. So what I think is that as the greatest generation ever actually started to die off, I don't know why the next generation is called the silent generation. It's kind of disrespectful and crazy. But I'm thinking something started right then and there. And it always, if you look at the timeline of things, World War II, the discovery of technology obtained from the Europe, let's just say Europe, because some of the information was in Czechoslovakia. Some of the Nazis had some other neutral German scientists had. So let's just say Europe for right now. But what cannot be refuted is that this information really changed the dynamics on this planet. When that information got into the hands of Americans, it was over. And it seemed that, like, at this same time, while we're allowing some of these scientists to come over here, actually thousands of scientists and Nazis to come over here. You guys know the operation by now, Operation Paperclip. And it seems like there was a rise in different experimentations. Allegedly mind control as well. I say alleged only for YouTube purposes, but I pretty much know, and you know, that these experiments have went on. Now, when we're dealing with anything to do with mind control, I feel you might as well add behavioral control and behavioral engineering along with that. You understand what I'm saying? You might as well just go ahead and add that to it. Could this have been a orchestration of sorts that has to do with the technology that all spawned from the technology that was discovered? I don't know. That's a question, right? We're doing critical thinking over here always.
Gender presentation was rigidly enforced, and deviation was treated as scandal rather than self-discovery. This framework began to fracture during the 1960s and 1970s with the sexual revolution, the civil rights movement, anti-war protests, and a broader rejection of institutional authority. Sexual expression and gender experimentation emerged as acts of rebellion, not yet normalized, but intentionally confrontational. Artists such as David Bowie and Prince used androgyny and sexual ambiguity to challenge norms, but they did.
Oh, hold on, y'all. What the hell is going on here? Let me slow this down. Why is this upside down? Hold on. Okay, so let me just fix this real quick. Take that up off of here. Put that over here. Where you at? Why this won't turn? That's crazy that it's even upside down to begin with. Because I definitely did not turn it upside down. But I'm not too pissed off because at the same time, I wasn't even going to show this video. So it really don't matter to me. It's just amazing to me that it's turned upside down. Duly noted.
Did so at personal and professional risk. This period is critical because expression was still oppositional. It existed outside of corporate protection or mainstream approval. Sexual and gender transgression functioned as a critique of power, not a product of it. The 1980s and 1990s marked a turning point as shock began to be monetized. With the rise of MTV, controversial imagery was no longer merely tolerated.
Hold up, stop. My people, my tribe is finding me slowly. We got original man in the building. You understand? We rebranded. Peace to the gods and the earths. You understand? Shout out to the people. Shout out to Uncle Andy. Some people it's going to take them longer to find out where we at. Shout out to the truth lady. You understand? Some people it's going to take them a little bit longer to find out where we at. But we are here. And, instead of getting rid of the channel altogether, I just decided to do a serious revamp, rebrand, right? I know which words they don't want me to use. It was fun. You understand? It was fun. But if I can't even get people to critically think because the algorithm is like, well, you're just too far down the road. Either you're too progressive or you're too antiquated, right? Either one, you're one of the two. You're too antiquated. We don't use those words anymore. We use more sensitive words. I'm still out here using words that's not sensitive. They're gonna hurt me for that. And it's not about the money. It's about the knowledge, right? So if I can't do what I love and it's hurting other people because they can't get the knowledge that they enjoy, they can't, the content I provide, just the topics, period. People enjoy it because it's a lot of filth out there nowadays. It's not pushing someone's mind to think critically or have mature conversations. It's just it's a lot of ridiculous in my opinion, and probably my audience's opinion, right? So, as much as it pains me not to, because I'm a sarcastic person, so I like to be sarcastic. I like to troll. But it comes a point in time where it's like it's hurting everyone more than it's helping anyone. So at that point, you just gotta realize we rebrand. The name I was using, I separated from that because the algorithm will recognize that. So like I said, we'll just rebrand ourselves, we'll rebuild up, and we'll be fine in a few months, right? And I got a lot of good topics coming out and more content coming out. But today, if you just tapping in with us, I really want to talk about when. That's definitely the word your grandmother used, right? Obscene. My grandmother used obscene for everything, though. You understand? If she may not have found the word for profanity, she knew it. If she ain't grabbed that word for profanity, she gonna all this obscenity. Wait, what happened here? Is this off? What is going on? No data. Let's wait. Let's see what happens. It's still playing. If anybody can hear me, just put a 1 in the chat. It says no data. Okay. I think we're back. It says a poor connection, but we're back. Sorry about the technical difficulties. It is a winter advisory. It's 0 degrees. It's actually 0 degrees where I'm at. So I'm not sure if that has to do with anything, right? Let's continue on, even though it is poor. Okay, now it just turned from poor to good. Thank you for people for sticking in there. Let's continue on.
But leveraged for ratings and profit. Artists like Madonna blurred sexual boundaries on national television, and while backlash still existed, it became clear that controversy could be commercially valuable.
Controversy in the 80s. So that may be the culprit right there. That may be the culprit. Thank you, original man. Thank you. Buffering, right? Yeah. We're gonna try to work our way through it. If it gets too terrible, we'll end the live. It's not a problem if it gets too terrible. So the 80s, and I am doing a hip hop channel as well. So I'll be talking about more hip hop over there, and then I'm doing another channel. So I'm actually separating my content. For most of you guys, you know that I got my bachelor's in sociology. This is what I love to do. I just love social studies. So this channel is not going to be a problem at all. I got so many different topics. I got 2 more videos dropping today. Got another video dropping at 3 o'clock. And I got another video dropping tonight around 7, 8 o'clock. So I'm trying to get in a rhythm over here. So it's better for me. And then when I want to talk about hip-hop, I'll talk about hip-hop over there. I got a Jay-Z video coming out. I'll let you guys know about where that channel is going to be. And then I got a whole nother channel more for the urban streets and stuff like that. So we're gonna turn this up. We're gonna turn this up a little bit. But getting back to the 80s and that hip hop, I studied that hip hop culture that I love so much. what some people try to do was they try to exclude all Caucasian people that had to do with hip hop. And what me and my man Zeke Black talk about all the time is, if you exclude the Caucasian people from hip hop and say, oh no, you wasn't a part of this, then guess what? Hip hop never gets, it doesn't get monetized. It just doesn't. It doesn't get monetized, right? It just remains something, some type of deviancy. So the reason I always like to mention the Martha Coopers and the Henry Chalfants, right, is because of their contribution, helping to get it to the point where the world would recognize it as valuable, right? When they're able to do a art show downtown and have the upper class come down in a safe environment, not at the mud club, right? But in a safe environment where they feel safe. Now they could take the time without walking real fast or going by at 100 miles per hour. Now they want to sit and look at this artwork, this graffiti work, critique it, observe it. Colors, the format, the font. Guess what though? They also get to talk to these people, these artists that was doing the art on the train, right? So when else are you going to get a chance? If you live on, let's just say, some swanky street that I may know of. If you live on the east side, 61st. If you live on the east side, 61st, and one of them swanky buildings down there, close to where Diana Ross used to live. Sidebar, I used to sell these fake Chanel bracelets. There was this gay guy in one of those buildings. He used to buy them from me every time, bro. He said, yo, you just let me know every time you get these. Will do. I forgot how much I was paying for them for. I think I might have been paying $50 for each bracelet. He was buying them for like $150, right? Sometimes I go down there, he $700 sale right then and there. What? And I said, it's a little come up for me, but I said, I wonder who he's selling them to, because he's making a killing. Let me tell you right now, because I know that's what he was doing. Right? Who's going to question him? He got a little heroin habit or whatever like that. Who's going to question him? So I came up with, if I came up 700, he came up thousands. I know that. Anyway, unsidebar. When are people like him, without a heroin addiction, obviously, but when are people like these people supposed to really look close up on this type of artwork, right? They don't really take the train unless they really need to at this time. Some of them did. You could tell when they get off, right? Anytime they take the train, ain't none of them on the train after 96th Street. So you know, ain't none of them on the train after 96th Street. And definitely not 110th. It's over. It's a wrap after 110th Street. So when you have Henry Chalfant and Martha Cooper throwing these photo gallery exhibitions downtown, this is your first This is your first breaking through to the other side, right? Because they curious. These people with money they in the circles with people with money. So then that's how you get your eventually. And I'm free balling right now, but I'm saying what I think happened when Andy Warhol embraced Basquiat, who is also Samo, right? So your graffiti artist is really the he was leading the pack for hip hop. Your graffiti artist and your dancers. Shout out to Crazy Legs. Crazy Legs keeps telling me we're gonna do an interview. I mean, actually, a lot of people. I think I hurt myself more by doing the content I was doing because a lot of people did want to work with me, but they were scared because I was talking about certain people. So I had to just I got to clean up my channel. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people that want to work with me, and they are scared that they'll get blackballed or whatever case like that. But anyway, shout out to Crazy Legs. Crazy Legs was on tour before any like mainstream rapper. Crazy Legs, he was on tour before Run DMC in Japan. I like those apples. So the representation for hip hop, which is a rebellious movement, a rebellious culture. Hip hop was a rebellious culture. Now, I want us to understand, rebellious doesn't mean ignorant and chaotic. That's not what rebellious means. Rebellious is an expression that you do not agree with how the system is working, and you're going to push back on it. You're going to express yourself. Yo, F the man, F you pigs, you pigs. Because dig it, the police got fraternalized in 1965 through the Law Assistance Enforcement Act. Law assistance. Did they say they needed assistance, federal government, Uncle Sam? Nah, but we just figured, what would it hurt? Okay. Law assistance enforcement. It's really the third word for me. Hold up. Let's bring it up. I'll get to your comments in a second because I could barely see. And I found my reading glasses and I lost my reading glasses just like that. Law assistance. Come on. Enforcement Act. Actually, this is Law Enforcement Assistance Act. That's even crazier. September 1965. So it is actually Law Enforcement Assistance Act 1965. So this was the law that basically the Law Enforcement Assistance Administration was the U.S. federal agency established in 1968 to provide funding and to support to state and local law enforcement agencies. So like I said, that is the history on the fraternalization of the police department. However, what did that do? Why would people band together to rebel against that? That created, there was no quotas before that funding was given to the local law enforcement. You went out and did your job. The incentive, though, that at the end of the year, the government wants an audit to see the numbers. And based off those numbers, they would give more money. Well, then the numbers skyrocketed and shot up. So then you get people out here falsifying arrests just so that the numbers can look good. When this happens, because that's obviously a disrespect to the citizens, falsifying arrests, arresting people just so you can meet your quota for the day. How is the community supposed to respond? How is the community supposed to respond? And I could. That's not the only thing, but obviously there was more gangs created. There was a lot that was going on. I call it the perfect storm, right? Because you had businesses pulling out. They was migrating elsewhere. Because Robert Mosley was out here experimenting. He was trying to get a name as an architect. So he started building the all type of highways, the Cross Bronx Expressway. A lot of that construction, he was really wilding because he started several projects at one time in New York, and it just drove people mad. They was like, yo, I'm out of here. People went to Jersey, people went to Westchester, people went to Long Island, but I'll tell you one thing for sure, they got up out of the Bronx, right? And anyway, business was bad in the Bronx regardless, so you get your rebel music, but again, rebel don't mean nothing that it would mean now, right? Now, we went through a phase where they was really bragging about so much. They was rapping about evil stuff. And I just explained the difference between evil and rebel. Rebel, you just don't like what's going on. You gonna get out here and you gonna say your piece. So I consider hip hop in that category, but hip hop wasn't the only music genre that was pumping rebel music at the time. So what was born the same time? There was a few music genres that was born the same time hip hop was born. It was hip hop, it was punk rock, it was house music, right? Hip hop, punk rock, house music. I'm gonna let you sit on that for a second as I read the comments. Right, we got a couple people in here rocking out with me today. Winter says, I remember the 80s. That's when they were telling us to say no to drugs while they were pushing the drug. That was a crazy time. My father got hooked on drugs. Anytime I think about that time, it's like a punch in my chest. Right. Because I always think, what would have happened if my father wasn't on crack cocaine? And then to find out how he got on, because he was so far removed from that world. It's like, yo, how'd you get on this, bro? And he was a truck driver like me, or I am a truck driver like him. And they did not have the hydraulic seats that I have now. By the way, y'all, I have a 2026. They gave me a 2026 last week. Oh, yeah. I didn't even see it yet. They just put it in my mailbox. Yo, here's your new schedule, and you got a 2026. Yeah. Anyway, unsidebar. I got an international. Anyway. Because Winter brought it up, the United States also, they had a department that was supposed to oversee the safety of legal pharmaceuticals that were given to people. And they dropped the ball when they told everybody Oxycontin was not going to be addictive, and it was addictive. So because my father had the operations, he had all type of operations with the kidney stones. You had the guys holding their pee, all this type of other stuff. No hydraulic seats. It messed up his organs, always bumping around, all that other crazy stuff. It messed up his insides. He had to get an operation. When he got out the operation, like I said, he wasn't nowhere around that world. I know because we was pretty much going to church a lot, right? Because he was a minister, and that's why my grandfather allowed him to marry my mother, because she was a preacher's kid. This guy, he worked for Exxon Diesel as a truck driver, so it looked like a good fit. You understand? He's a hardworking man. He earns money, right? So it was kind of a no-brainer. He was older than my mom, but that's okay with my grandfather. He's like, nah, this is a good fit right here. You're gonna be all right. So getting back to how he got on drugs, taking the OxyContin, believing the man in the white coat. Never believed the man in the white coat, right? But we do all the time, and and when I say we, not me personally, but the majority of Americans, we believe the man in the white coat, whatever they say. I hear people say, no, but they're saying this and it, and we witnessed that on 2019, 2020, and a lot of people are not here today because they kept on believing in the man in the white coat, right? But let's continue on, because I'm trying to be cool and turn a new leaf. Anyway, he took the OxyContin pills and became addicted. When he ran out of the OxyContin pills, he was trying to get something that would help out, and eventually he done found something that he ain't want to find, right? And I spoke to my father for so many years after that, and if he regrets anything, it's that, right? Because he would always ask me, how your mama doing? How your mama? You think she get back with me? And it was, I used to feel bad, like not a chance, and you don't have a snowball's chance in hell, my man. And I know you didn't know it was going to do all of this, right? I knew you didn't know that. I know you didn't know that, but it did all of that, and you're never seeing her again, bro. And to watch her remarry must have crushed the living crap out of him. So the 80s was kind of crazy, because I don't think, the 80s was nuts. Now, Kenny Mack is in the building. Kenny Mack has found us. Shout out to DC. He's here for it. He's rolling up the gas, right? Not the nast, the gas. You understand? Keep your $10 eighths and all that. That's not what he's doing. He don't want nothing to do with that. Right? So welcome, Kenny Mack. We just here having a dialogue, brother, about when all this obscenity became art, right? And I'm just taking the long way home, meaning I'm kind of like critically thinking, since when did the United States, did we get here to the point where at the Grammys people are wearing basically nothing? I remember Scarlett had her little breast out at one of these award shows. I was pissed off at the Rough Riders for that, because I felt like they were supposed to be protecting her, and to even allow some designer to put crap on her, or not put crap on her and call it art, right? You've put little to nothing. You put Cher over it, and you say, "Oh, I am an artiste. What do you know about art?" I know this is not art, bro. I know this is just exploiting this young girl, right? She doesn't even come from this world. She raps tough and rough from Brooklyn. Not that we need more masculine females, but why would you say, okay, for this piece, I think we need to show your breast? What? What are you talking about? So I'm really trying to have a conversation today. When, where, and why? When, where, and why did this obscenity culture Um, they might have shut me off again. It says 0, but we're gonna keep on rocking out. You understand? Because a lot of times they say don't pay attention to that. When, where, and why did this culture of obscenity and TV and media become so aggressive? All right?
However, this era still treated transgressive expression as risky and provocative rather than morally virtuous. Corporations exploited shock but did not yet defend it ideologically. The early 2000s represented the final stage where mainstream sexual exposure could still produce widespread backlash. The public reaction to incidents like the Super Bowl halftime controversy involving Janet Jackson demonstrated that corporations and regulators were still sensitive to conservative moral pressure. At this stage, nudity and gender transgression remained contested terrain, and institutional power was cautious rather than affirming. The decisive shift occurred in the 2010s, when corporations moved from exploiting controversy to actively endorsing specific forms of sexual and gender expression. Under the influence of social media activism, demographic targeting, and internal diversity and inclusion frameworks, major institutions began to frame gender fluidity and sexual exhibitionism not as rebellion but as progress. At this point, expression ceased to be optional. It became symbolic of moral alignment. Corporations did not merely tolerate these displays, they defended them, promoted them, and integrated them into brand identity. By the 2020s, this shift was fully institutionalized. Performances and appearances once considered transgressive now appear on the most carefully curated stage.
I remember that Janet Jackson, so-called blunder. Okay, winter's still here. So obviously they're lying to me. They said 0 people. They said 0 people are watching. Winter's still commenting, bro. So I don't know what they talking about. This is YouTube trying to throw me off. We not falling for the okie doke. Everybody. Welcome to Society, Past, Present, and Future. You understand? Where we discuss all things over here in society, the different systems, the constructs, the controversial topics. We'll be discussing them all over here. Hit the like button. Do subscribe. Shout out to this effing guy. This effing guy, it literally says 0 there, bro. They thought I was gonna cut it off, and I just kept on talking. Good. Shout out to me for not falling for their shenanigans. Winter says a lot of southern states ban heavy metal bands like Ozzy. All right, let me show you something, Winter. You want to see something? They turned my this image around. So what we're gonna do is, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna get rid of this and bring on a new one. Everybody, hold tight. Let's get rid of this, right? Because I want to show you something. Obviously, I didn't do that. So a lot of times I be thinking they just display capture, right monitor. Let's go new. Yeah, let's do that one there. let's bring that down. Cool. Now I'll show you something. I want to show you something. And this is a good thing about me being able to do my own research. So I make my own slides. So anytime I want to go back to that topic, I can. So since we're talking about when this type of obscenity got endorsed, and I brought up hip hop, and I also brought up punk rock. And by the way, guys, I have to definitely leave at 1:50 because me and my daughter are watching movies together at 2:00. Give me a second, everybody, because the video just brought up Madonna, and there's a lot we need to talk about here. How far I want to go back? You know what? Let's go back. Let's go way back. All right. Now, people don't like to talk about it, but there was hints of homosexuality within hip hop. There was hints of it, right? But there was a hint of a lot of liberal breaking the flanks of conservatism, right? And music was able to do that. Music was able to make people feel free. It broke the constructs of racism, even if it was only in the moment, right? So you, as a melanated person, may have liked the song, but that was performed by a Caucasian person, right? You bopped your head. You didn't turn it off, huh? I'm cracking up. I'm walking through the Walmart the other day, and I said, first of all, there's a lot of older people working at Walmart nowadays. A lot of older people working at Walmart. But they had an older white lady. Man, this lady had to be close to 70, right? She didn't look hood white. She didn't look like I'm down white. You can usually recognize these people. I'm down. She down. She know what's going down, right? It wasn't that type. And she wasn't hood. And not all white people that's down are hood, right? Some are they just know what's going on. They down. They could talk to jive with you. They understand it. You know what I'm saying? I don't really like all of that. Yo, what's up, my man business? Because I think you're trying to play me. So usually I'm offended. If you a white guy and you start talking to me, yo, my man. Yo. You trying to be funny right now? Don't try to be funny, bro. Just talk, right? But she was a regular. If I had to assume, I think she was like more waspish. Wasp. Probably come from a wasp background, right? But guess what? That song came on. She's fresh, exciting, right? And she's sitting there. Yo, she trying her best not to bop, but she mouthing the words every time it says fresh. She's so fresh. She's so fresh, right? You can't control what your soul is attracted to. You cannot control what your soul is attracted to. I guess that's why homosexuals are like, yo, you think this is a choice? And I think some people probably get frustrated because they are attracted to the same sex and they probably don't want to be because they probably know it's a deviancy, but they probably can't help it because you can't control what your soul is attracted to, right? So her soul at the time was attracted to She's So Fresh, right? She loved it, right? Now, I'm not saying that she was even racist to begin with. She probably was never racist. It probably never a thought in her mind. But what I'm saying is she wouldn't have been the only one, if she was racist, that decided to tear down her constructs for the moment to enjoy that moment. Music did this. Hip hop did this. Right? So I want to bring up, and we spoke about some of this morning. We spoke about the graffiti who became rebels, right? And a lot of this I'm not talking about. I did mention Henry Chalfant. Shout out to Jamel Sabaz. That's another brother I speak to frequently. So here's Henry Chalfant and Martha Cooper right here, right? They were able to report. They was able to, I'm not going to use exploit. They exposed the culture to people who couldn't understand the culture of graffiti, to people that couldn't get next to a Dondi. You understand? Dondi White, the founder of CIA, Crazy Inside Artists. They couldn't get next to these type of people, right? If you live in Upper East Side, Upper West Side, you can't just get next to a Dondi. You're going to need, and we're not going to use words like handler, but you're going to need somebody that knows them. So I don't consider these people handlers or any of these type of crazy words that's being used today. But, you know, and I know somebody knows Martha Cooper personally, right? But and also shout out to Charlie Ahern. He worked with some of these urban black people in the early. It wasn't even really hip hop yet, right? When he did the Deadly Art of Survival, he was just expressing. He wanted to express on film what he was seeing, right? Oh, shout out to Lee Quinones. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people. But anyway, I got a point. Where am I going with this? I think I'm going because there's a lot, but I'm not doing this show on hip hop, right? So I could talk about the, you know, shout out to the Glenn O'Briens and the Michael Holmans. But I want to get to a particular group. I want to get to a particular group. The Clash. The Clash was an English rock band formed in London, 1976, who were key players in the original wave of British punk rock. 1981, their song Magnificent Seven became a hit on black radio station, right? So we talk about rebel music right now. We talk about rebel music. Talk about 81. Here goes a rebel group from the UK. Now look how similar we are. Look at what shirt this guy got on right here. He got the Bruce Lee shirt on. Guess what? Black guys was wearing the Bruce Lee shirt too in the late 70s, early 80s, right? So we had a lot of things in common. So much in common that on the eve of the show that they did, because they had booked 8 shows and 8 nights at the Bonds International. This was in Times Square, disco era. On the eve of the show, they got shut down by the fire department for overselling the show. To make up for it, they agreed to perform 11 additional shows and scrambled to find an opening act. They ended up booking Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. Right? So I know if you tapping in right now, you like, when we gonna get to the obscurity? And I'm about to go there right now. Just let me cook. Right? So now we got Grandmaster Flash, we got the Furious 5, we got other rappers that are working with British punk rock bands. right? Now, here's the thing. Before we even get to that, this guy right here, Malcolm McLaren, he was the freaking... Malcolm McLaren was like the Jeffrey Epstein of music, in my opinion. Right? He was the first Jeffrey Epstein. But we're not going to say, not so much trafficking, but what he tried to normalize was kind of bananas. In which case, you ask, how did he get over here to America anyway, right? He was wilding out in Britain, right? He had these shirts right here. Now, that's a little boy, right? That's a little boy on her shirt that he designed. He designed this shirt. I blurred it out right there, so you can't see. But if I didn't put that dot over the little boy's waist, that is how they wore the shirt. So I think and that's, her name was Vivienne Westwood. So these two were partners. So she felt it was okay to wear that shirt. He felt it was okay to design. She is actually elated to wear. She feels amazing to just be a part of this, what is in her head, probably a movement. He has some type of shirt on that says Cambridge Grapist, but with an R. But listen, this is just shock type of content, right? So these are your immoral people who did things for money, and this is happening in the late 70s, early 80s. The thing is, he infiltrated hip-hop, right? Now, I want to look at the chat for a second. Give me a second. Look at the chat for a second. Kenny Mac says, music never made me do anything but listen. I run the streets because I was broke, no job, not because a rapper. Kenny Mac says, music is entertainment, but nothing else to me. Right, that's to you. But after a while, Kenny Mac, you are older too, right? I don't know how old Kenny Mac is. Big T TV, what's good, bro? I don't know how old Kenny Mac is, but I'm gonna assume just from the vibes, either me and Kenny Mac probably around the same age, or he's even a little, like maybe a couple of years older, right? Either way, Kenny Mac, what we have to realize is, I'm explaining to you how this music stuff became monetized, right? But with a price at the same time. I'm also showing you how it was compromised. Hip-hop was compromised. The music we listened to was compromised from an earlier date, right? Not a lot of people are going to talk about it. So I gotta lay down this type of information for people and let them know who was helping to compromise this music, and or at the same time it was being brought to these corporations to be monetized, right? You had big names like Andy Warhol, who was about to put hip hop on his back and walk it through the gateway. Like, yeah, we with hip hop now, right? We got Basquiat, we got such and such. But we have to also understand these are gay men that's putting hip hop on its back. Shout out to Abria's in the building, right? We have, so let's be honest. There was more gay. The gay community put hip hop on its back and walked it through a portal to get money. And without that group of people, I don't know if hip hop gets to where it gets today, right? You had Gary O'Brien, right, from the Village Voice. Glenn O'Brien, not Gary. You had Glenn O'Brien from the Village Voice. You had Michael Holman for the Village Voice, right? All of these people were reporting on hip hop. Yes, we're going to get to all of that. The Andy Warhols. Okay, I just wanted to see what was going on over here. 67, Summer of Love 2, allegedly the real origin. Okay, Obria. Okay. Right? Hold on. I just wanted to see what was going on. Remember, when I'm looking at the slide, I can't really see your comment, so just hold tight if I can't see your comment, right? Anyway, not that the we're not even gonna get into the Village people yet. Let's see where I want to go. I want to go back. All right, here we have a Jean-Michel Basquiat with a young Glenn O'Brien on the set of his public access TV show in '78. Guess who else had a public access show? Me. That's who. Right? I had a public access show. Shout out to public access. Right? Richard Goldstein. Richard Goldstein is an American journalist and writer who wrote for the Village Voice. Again, I'm not saying Richard Goldstein was a homosexual. I don't know, but I know that the Village Voice is from the Greenwich Village, which is known for a community that thrives and heavily populated by the homosexual community. In 1973, there may have been a few hundred ghetto kids writing in a few definable styles. Now thousands call themselves writers. Shout out to Nas. Nas just released a new album. On the album, one of the songs is called Writers, where he mentions as many graffiti artists as he could. Shout out to Nas. They come from every social stratum and range in age from 9 to 25. Their signatures, called tags, have transformed the subway into what the Times calls some god-awful forest. And now that the perpetrators have moved above ground, trucks and elevators, monuments, and vacant walls look as if they have suddenly sprouted veins. Right? So he wrote that in 1980. Hold on. I want to get to... Alright, we got Glenn O'Brien. Fab Five Freddy reaches out to Glenn O'Brien, and O'Brien reaches out to Howard Smith. You guys need to get some exposure and talk about what you're doing in the press. Glenn connected us to this guy who wrote a column in the Village Voice. Howard Smith. What are we talking about? Right? Just in case you guys want to know why I got so upset at Tariq Nasheed, right? Because he was really getting involved with a culture that he never cared for. He never cared for hip hop, right? When he tried to infiltrate hip hop, his album was the name of the album was called Wash Your Ass, where he talked down on women. Personally, I don't even know if I don't believe, I'm not confident Tariq Nasheed really likes women like that, right? But that's neither here nor there. But he came out with an album called Wash Your Ass that just was really just some fake pimp talk down on women, and it was horrible. And then years later, you got him saying, "Oh, the black man this, the black man that." And I'm like, "Yo, bro, leave." I don't mind you doing your documentaries, because your documentaries are usually good. Hidden Colors was dope. This, that, and the third. But leave hip hop alone, right? But if you're going to talk about it, do the real research, right? And my research tells me, without the white homosexual, I don't know if anybody gets money like that. Not to where we are today, where people getting $1 million deals before they even released an album. Well, not no more, but just before 2019. Nobody's getting no more money now. It's over. You're not getting that now, right? Now, I was talking about how they let this cat named Malcolm McLaren infiltrate hip hop. He had songs like Buffalo Girls, and he had the world famous Supreme. That was a hit. Anyway, check it out. In 1971, he opened up a boutique called Let It Rock in Chelsea, London. It catered to classic 1950s styles of rock. Eventually, McLaren extended his interest to what some called cult clothes, associated with pop music, including zoot suits, biker jackets, and homoerotic apparel. Right? Again, this is the same guy I'm going to show you that infiltrated hip hop, and not just hip hop. He did a song with the 5% of the 5% nation of the gods and earth. Peace to the gods. Yeah. He did a song with the 5% nation of gods and earth. Peace to the gods. And the song was a smash. I still listen to the song to this day. I can't not listen to the song because it's that dope. He became heavily invested in the sex and bondage style of cult clothing and changed the name of his shop to Too Fast to Live, Too Young to Die. Then finally changing the name again to Sex. The boutique featured many of the early punk fashion trademarks like bondage trousers, ripped garments, held together by safety pins, and explicit t-shirts. This is in the 70s, he's doing early 70s, right? In 1975, McLaren begins managing a British punk rock group named what? The Sex Pistols. All right? That's called Smoking Boy, which is disgusting to me. Malcolm decided to clout chase with raunchy taboo t-shirts with nudity of boys and gay men, hoping to create a street style worn by the youth. Let's take a break right there. Right? I want to look at the comments. Tell me what you're thinking before we even go any further. Right? Original man claps back, lets it known, yo, it was terrible and it was degrading. Facts. Abria is still in the house. She said it's punk type-ish already. You understand? Let's get back to it. I just wanted to see, what's it looking like. Let's get back to it though, because this dude was wilding and we let him in. So with the Sex Pistols, he became my sexy young assassin, a Sex Pistol. All I needed was to announce the group's name and draw a guitar. For McLaren, the image evoked sexual danger. It was original, published in a magazine geared towards pedophiles. I don't even want to say the word, right? But I'm just reading it. But PDFs. So, that community had been around for a while, but they were looking for a way to infiltrate above ground. I'm not saying hip-hop was the only place that they found where they could start coming out in the open. But what I am saying to you is hip hop was on the list, obviously. And there was more. There was other channels, right? So you had, you definitely had punk rock along with them, because that's who's introducing us to all of this crazy, chaotic stuff. Along with this type of fortune and fame comes what? Entertainment, movies, Hollywood. McLaren found the image in one of his regular trips to London. And this is a guy who, first of all, I wouldn't even know about a PDF magazine. I wouldn't even know that, right? I wouldn't know. The only reason I know about one app is because it's always being mentioned, which is called Grindr. Other than that, I wouldn't even have known about that app, right? But my ears is to the streets on certain apps. You got Ashley Madison for married people, Grindr for gay people. You got different apps out here. But as far as, and that's not hard to understand in these times, because you may hear an app on somebody's podcast and he's like, yo, he was on this, that, and the third, because you have to set up a profile. But when you have a magazine, you subscribe to a magazine, you going in there and you looking for it. First of all, you got a magazine because it sells. So that tells you right there, oh, there's an audience for this. The fact that Malcolm McLaren knew about the magazine and he's dipping in and out the pages to know what's going on. He had the subscription, bro. He had the subscription. So McLaren found the image in one of the regular trips to London sex shops. The original photograph came from the magazine called Boys Express, disgusting, published by Hans Herbert Hubermal. The photographer was Don Bushby. Hold on. Let's go to Hans Herbert Hubermal. I think we need to go to ChatGPT on this one. Yeah. I think we need to. Just in case he's related to anybody of fame and... Hold on. Who is Hans Herbert Hubenhall? I want to be very careful because accuracy matters here. There is no document. Okay, I spelt it wrong on purpose. ChatGPT will do this sometime when it doesn't want to answer the question. So, Huber, M-A-H-L. ChatGPT doesn't know him. Hold on, it's asking me where did I see or hear this. Now all of a sudden ChatGPT want my information. I'll give you the information because allegedly he's a pervert. Hold on, y'all. All right. Apparently, ChatGPT is standing up Hold on. Apparently, ChatGPT is standing up for Hans. It says, okay, I need to slow this way down and be precise because this is where misinformation spreads fast. Yo, bro, either you know Hans, you hung out with Hans, you partied with Hans or not, bro. I'm not trying to hear none of your rhetoric, ChatGPT. You let me know, bro. It's not the age of really hanging out with these type of guys. You understand? They falling left and right. So you don't have to take up for this guy and explain things for your boy. You was partying with him or what? Why this matters. Accusing a named individual of involvement with petty is serious. If the person is real, there would be documentation. Yo, bro, I got this from a book, bro. Hold on, let me straighten this out right now for ChatGPT try to get me a flag. Hold on, y'all. There's no verifiable historical record linking the magazine called Boys Express to an identical publisher named Hans Herbert Huberhall. I said... Yo, you playing with me right now, ChatGPT? Yeah. ChatGPT. Huber Mall. Hold on, y'all. We get to the bottom of this. ChatGPT is on bullshit time. Alright, he still couldn't find the person. Yeah, I don't need you to tell me about other magazines, bro. I just wanted to know that guy, please. Alright, anyway, delete this chat. You're wildin' telling me about other publications. What? Go find these people. What do you know all these publications for if you ain't doing nothing about it? I wasn't looking for advice. I was just doing some research, bro. Anyway, the photographer was Don Busby, whose studio was centered in London. Busby regularly supplied images to well-known British PDF magazines such as Bunny Kids, Exciting Boys, and Super Kids. This is disgusting. The publishers of which were all charged with obscenity, which is what today's show is about, when they attempted to export their products to New Zealand and the United States later in 1976. Yet, when Malcolm McLaren and Vivian Westwood, I didn't get the rest of that was in the book. And to be honest with you, I forgot which book I got that from. That's why I can't copy and paste this, because this was a book. But anyway, he had put a black guy over here and with his schlong out, and these are the shirts that these people used to wear. So, as we're acting like Jeffrey Epstein was the only type of monster, no, there were monsters among us the entire time that were running this music industry, you know? And I feel bad for Justin Bieber because I feel like he only wanted to dance, sing, and get money. He was naive. His parents were naive. They did not know you had to pay the cost. Sadly, Usher Raymond sold him out because Usher Raymond was sold out himself. Yeah. By L.A. Reid. Usher Raymond was sold out himself by L.A. Reid. Allegedly. Let me say allegedly. I'm trying to change over a new leaf. I am doing better, though. I've not really done that much profanity today. I've left certain people out of the conversation. So I'm still doing better than I was yesterday. Now, your boy Malcolm McLaren is doing all of this silly business in UK, and you can see it was clearly silly business. UK is like, yo, come on to the blood clot, please, my boy. Huh? Big suck of the teeth. Huh? Hey, boy, come on to the place. Pure Batman business that. Fire for that. Come out. Right? Kicks him out. And 1981, Malcolm comes to New York. Hooks up with Michael Holman, who is currently managing who? The Rocksteady crew. And brings McLaren to a Bombada. Stop. Just stop the video. Just stop the video. Just Hold on. It's getting crazy. Let's get Zeke Black on the phone. Let's get Zeke Black on the phone. It's getting crazy. Hold on. Hope Zeke answers, man. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yo, son, I'm live. Hold on. I had to call you live right now, right? Had to call you live. Now, piece it. But let me look. Watch this, right? You're going to bug out. Let me get it up there. All right, cool. Let me start. All right. So, your man Malcolm McLaren, he gets kicked out of UK. You could say that, right? He gets pushed out because he kept on putting these shirts. He used to make these shirts with the boys on them with their Johnson out, right? And he used to wear them out. Him and Vivian, what was her name? Hold on. Vivian Westwood. Vivian Westwood used to wear these shirts with boys on them, right? Like, all right. So now in 1981, check it. 1981, Malcolm comes to New York, hooks up with who? Hooks up with Michael Holman, who is currently managing who, Zeke?
At that time, I believe the Rocksteady crew.
Okay. Now, Michael Holman, we know is gay. There's no crime in being gay, right? There's no crime. There's no crime with that. But my point is this. How we are trying to stop the inclusion of the white people and the gay community and the success of hip hop. Because if it's not no Michael Holmans to get out here and start managing the Rocksteady crews, you understand? If it's not these journalists from the Village Voice that keeps on reporting on this culture in a certain way, and most of these people were white gay men, bro. Let's keep it real. But check this out. Michael Holman brings Malcolm McLaren, the dude that just got kicked out of Europe for obscene works and all of this taboo stuff. Where he bring him straight to? A Bambaataa powwow.
Mixes of the cultures.
Yes.
I'm going to say because at this point in time, for your people that don't follow New York City history, there was a situation with a lot of club owners happened to be part of what's better known as the LGBTQ community. A lot of those club owners, and at that point in time, between the mafia and a lot of dirty cops extorting these club owners, a situation happened called Stonewall on Christopher Street. So, for these people, for this community to gain power, they found a source of revenue because you need money, right?
Right.
So these club owners, like, they create their own union and said, we're going to support through media and through our clubs. We are going to mix the masses. We are going to monetize hip hop by diversing it within our community, which is not all LGBT, because somebody who goes to Studio 54, we can't assume that they're that or Mars. But what we can honestly say is now we have Europeans gravitate into this new sound, which equals to American dollars. You know what I'm saying?
Which equals to American dollars.
Let's get back to it. Let's get back to the man who had T-shirts with kids is now at a Zulu Nation power. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Yeah. He know the chant inside and out, right? He's out here with the warlord himself. So McLaren asked Bambaataa to open up for his group, the Bow Wow Wow, at the Ritz. Okay?
Yes.
So now we're seeing the relationship. And by the way, Michael Holman was once in a musical group with who? Basquiat.
Yes. The man that was the face of urban graffiti in that circle of art.
Sam.
The man that they was going to for you are for the people, Basquiat. It's like the man who made the Crackers Rack wall. He's a part of that committee. You know what I'm saying?
Lee Quinones, yes.
He was a part of because to make hip hop what it is now, it had to fall under something. It had to fall under art. So all that people talk about that it's not a part of the chapters. If it wasn't for graffiti is what the people stood behind, and they put everything within graffiti. The b-boying, breakdancing, all that came under art because of graffiti. You hear me?
Talk that talk. That's a fact.
Huh?
That's a fact. That's a fact what you're saying right now.
It wasn't what's his name of Keith Holman, Keith Haring, Warhol. They wasn't advocating for breakdancers. They wasn't advocating for your favorite MC. They were saying all this comes from this graffiti.
Right.
Graffiti is an expression of the urban art, and all that they're doing is from these expressions. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. That's a fact.
So you gotta salute your graffiti artists.
You
know what I'm saying?
You gotta go. I mean, to keep it real, our first hip hop movie, which was Wild Style, had to do about graffiti.
Hold up. And because in America, they wasn't ready for that type of, putting that on TV screen. Where was the first documentaries, visuals of hip hop shown in America or across seas first? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, we didn't embrace ours, so we wouldn't have promoted it. So really, we seen it overseas. You understand?
Yes, it was in Tokyo.
Tokyo, definitely.
Vancouver.
Germany.
Canada. From Canada, it hits Europe. So now, we have to keep this in mind, party people, that before hip-hop hit America, it hit every place else.
Right.
But by the time we seen it, it was already, they was already gravitating to the graffiti, the breakdancing. That's why breakdancing went crazy. That's why the show Fame went crazy. That's why, you know what I'm saying? They put everything behind the breakdancing. Even Beat Street, the dance in the art. Breaking 1 and 2, the dance in the art. Star Wars, graffiti. So definitely shout out to the crew from Bronxdale, the B-boys, you know what I'm saying? You know?
Right.
Soundview. The Bullets, because hip-hop is really an uptown thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we can say from Mount Vernon, Yonkers, to the South Bronx, that was hip hop. And then it was spread out through Harlem, as in the Polo Grounds uptown, then they started coming downtown. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Right.
But it wasn't for the man who he said, who Nas mentioned in writers. There won't be there's no monetization of hip hop. There's no taking hip hop serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's definitely not. There's definitely without your Charlie Aherns, you know what I'm saying? Going out to meet with Busy B, who to me was he and still is an incredible chief rocker. You understand? But
Yes.
Busy B wasn't there was no real lyricist at the time. There was an MC, somebody that could move the crowd. You know what I'm saying? And he was a chief rocker amongst like I still listen to Busy B just to kind of really feel what he was doing, man. Like you could still feel the vibe on how he made the people really want to, you know what I'm saying, get into the music, right? And then for Charlie Ahern to say, yo, I'm going to do a movie on y'all, man. I think that was wild, bro. I think that's wild.
And nobody paid attention. He did have Caucasians in them documentaries. Cope, Tab One, the MPC group, Is the Wiz. Those are Caucasians. Ghost, RIS. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, Zephyr.
Min One, Zephyr.
Yup.
John 1156. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I don't understand how you take away Caucasians' contribution to hip hop. Yo, that's what got me pissed off. I'm like, wait, you really gonna take away the contribution of gays? You gonna take away the contribution of white people out of hip hop? How can you do that? Only you can. That's crazy.
Because after the Source really took off, we had new magazines. In the new magazines, the people that became these journalists of hip hop, they began to create a different narrative that hip hop is from a different street. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So now what happened is they took it from the foundation of hip hop to they take it as hip hop started in the crack era. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, you're all combined to the crack era when hip hop didn't start in that era. It started in the PCP era. You know what I mean?
Right. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. By young, rebellious kids. You gotta remember, these is teenagers, bro. These is 13, 14, 15 years old. You understand? Yeah. So they don't even know what they creating. But what they know is they on some type of wild Irish wine and some PCP and some cigarettes dipped in the water, man.
In the water.
Yeah.
So what they did was they changed the culture of hip hop. These new journalists. So they make the narrative sound like hip hop took off in the 80s when there was a hip hop show with Mr. Magic. It was a disco hip hop show. The first freestyle ever on radio, even if it was a commercial radio, was Melly Mel. He did a freestyle on the show that it was Mr. Magic, Fly Tie, and Sal, who had one of the first clubs that was allowing individuals to do hip hop in. From the DJ Hollywoods to the Love Bug Skarskis to the Busy Beats, you know what I mean?
Right.
Where these guys was able to perform the musical aspect of what they assumed was hip hop, other than break beats.
Now
the Marley Marl, he was there too. This was on a public access channel. I don't know if it's WHBI, one of those, before he went to BLS. That's why that same team that was on there, they created basically the first hip-hop mix show with Mr. Magic. And then Jazzy Jane went to Kiss FM. And that's when the alert came along. You know what I'm saying?
All right,
so,
you mentioning Jazzy J, bust this. Ruza Blue, also named as Cool Lady Blue, right? Now watch this. Ruza managed the sex boutique for who? Malcolm McLaren and Vivian Westwood she's from London too, right? So she was like their what do you call the apprentice. So she's over there handling the shop for them. She always wanted to come to New York and open up a club. When she gets to New York, in 1981, she starts promoting parties at the Grill Lounge in the Village. Shout out to the Grill Lounge. It's still there to this day.
I went there.
The oxtails is smoking. When they serve you the rice, then they flip it over on the bowl and all of that. Yeah, and the grill is still there.
Yeah.
Now,
hold up, they got one in Brooklyn too, off of Garfield. You got one in Brooklyn, Park Slope, off of Garfield.
They got in the Grill Lounge in
Avenue.
all right, we'll shout them out, but it ain't nothing like the original. You know what I'm saying? Because, and this is why I say that, Zeke. There was plenty of times with me and my wife, we go down to the Grill Lounge, we get some Jamaican food, and then where we go to after that, we may head to the Blue Note, which is right across the street. You understand? Or we may go to the Village Underground, which is right down the block. You understand? So it's a whole yeah, it's a whole vibe when you go down there. That the original one. Anyway, the original one had burnt down, but we talk about the second one anyway. But check this out. Her starting lineup was the Rocksteady crew, who are dancers, DJ Jazzy J. So it was the Rocksteady crew and DJ Jazzy J. The Grill closed in 1982. It says Jazzy J introduced Rick Rubin to Russell Simmons. Def Jam's first official release was the single "It's Yours" by T. La Rock and Jazzy J. So we seeing the connection between this perverse community that came from Europe, and we see how they infiltrated, not because they white, but because they was on bullshit time when they was in UK. That's why. You know what I'm saying? It got nothing to do with their skin color. But they was on some BS when they was over there. Then all they did was bring that over here and infiltrate, bro.
And that's why a lot of the sound that Def Jam was putting out was like hard beats and like rock and roll styles, like rock and roll. Like Run DMC was basically like a rock and roll band. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Their biggest hits are based like I'm the King of Rock, using a live band. Walk This Way. That's an old song by that group that had that. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're known for. Now a lot of people may not know that Orange Crush beat that they used to Sucker MC. That's what crossed them over before Walk This Way, because that was a big break beat in the Village, in those clubs, you know what I mean? So when MC rapped over it and Red Alert and them was playing it on the radio, that was crazy.
Now that break right there, that's a hard break right there.
DJ Larry the Live, you know what I mean?
Yeah, DJ Larry, yeah.
This is hip-hop.
This is hip-hop.
The monetization of hip-hop.
The monetization of hip-hop.
Watching Fame was basically a hip-hop show.
Bro,
you know
I didn't even know Leroy was gay till I got older, bro. I didn't even realize, like, wait a minute. I went back and watched Fame, and I thought, at the time, I just thought Leroy was you know what I'm saying? He had the cornrows, he had the army jacket, the boots. I'm like, nah, Leroy's that guy. I watched that joint later. I said,
don't get it twisted. His grandmother and mother was kingpins in Harlem. You know what I'm saying? You hear me? They got caught up in a big drug trade by like 158th and Broadway or Amsterdam and some shit like that.
Really?
Yeah, his grandmother was a kingpin. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Get out of here.
Yeah, she was. That's why they took him up the show, because they got locked up. Another girl got locked up with 20 dudes. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Oh, Leroy was. Oh, okay, Leroy.
They come from kingpins. You know what I'm saying? People that's getting money in Harlem.
Now,
look at him.
I want to bring it back to Planet Rock. You had a group
like 158th, like Amsterdam, Broadway, like that area. You know what I'm saying? He went to Julie Richmond High School. That's my zone school. You know what I'm saying? And he tried out to make the show Fame. If you look at the beginning of Fame, that's the Rocksteady crew dancing in the alley. That's 4C Freeze, I believe, and Crazy Legs. That's from Big Dancing in the Alley. So Fame was basically a new generation of their hip hop show, dancing and all that art stuff. That was Fame.
Wow!
You know
wow!
That was our first hip hop show. That the first official hip hop show was Fame.
Was Fame?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think we give enough credit to the dancers, bro. I don't. You know what I'm saying? I know we don't, man. I know they kind of push the dancers to the back. Somehow, the wordsmith, he became the most popular one in hip hop.
Yeah, the popularest one. So that's what these new people promote all day. Remember, the new journalist only promotes that. And like I said, these journalists, they only respect other journalists. So it's like Don Lemon. No disrespect to Don Lemon. But if Don Lemon creates a narrative of what he thought hip-hop was, somebody who follows him, because he has this status, follow his path. You hear me?
Yeah.
And then what happens is we got 30 major journalists on these platforms speaking on this. It makes, wait a minute, he's bugging out. This happened before that. That happened before that. Hold on. He's, you know what I'm saying? But not taking nothing away from Don Lemon. But again, when you ask the average person, when you think the crack era, when you think hip hop first started, they're gonna say, I said, well, what do you think it was the crack era? No, it wasn't the crack era. It wasn't even the cocaine era for the streets, bro. You hear me? It was the PCP era. The B-boys were smoking dust. You hear me?
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
New Jack City made a reference to that when he said, "Yo, I was smoking a bag of Red Devil." That was a real stamp in Harlem. Red Devil. That was a real stamp. You hear me?
Oh, that was a real.
You know what I'm saying? In Harlem.
Okay.
Rest in peace to Big Dave and the rest of them. The brothers on 12th Street and all that.
Yeah.
That was a real stamp. You know what I'm saying? They made a mention that in New Jack City. You know what I'm saying? But see, they don't understand that's what the B-boys was doing. Zoo Bang. When you had Zoo Bang, that was Angel Dust mixed with other things. You know what I'm saying?
Right. He said mixed with other things.
Yeah.
I don't even think you need to mix Angel Dust with anything else. But
yeah. But that was the B-boys. So you gotta think about it. The average B-boy was robbing, stealing, whatever the case. You know what I'm saying? Because we're talking about the Ronald Reagan era. We spoke about this. The Jimmy Carter era. Ed Koch, the Lindsay era. The Sessions in New York. The Sessions United States of America. So a group of poor people created something by staying consistent with it. You hear me?
right.
You know what I'm saying? It was just, this became a part of our dress code, the way we dress, the way we walk, the way we talk. A lot of Spanish guys learned English hanging out with us. They didn't learn English in school. They learned English hanging out on the block. You hear me?
Right.
Come on, let's go downtown, steal some apples. You know what I'm saying? You hear me? Because everybody didn't want to hustle. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, when we go into these stories, it's dope because you're going to learn some history. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, Bambaataa. Bambaataa had he had a organized, structured movement based off of those elements.
Now I want to get.
And he was powerful. I gotta give him credit. He was a very powerful man. You know what I mean?
I want to get into Bambaataa again, right? Not pause. I don't want to get into him again, but I want to get back on that topic. Planet Rock, right? Now, again, people are always trying to, according to Tariq Nasheed, it was the black people's music. Okay, well, Planet Rock actually, it was samples taken from a group called Kraftwerk from Germany.
Huh?
And the Mexican. And actually, the engineers that worked on that song were Arthur Baker and John Robbie, who worked on Planet Rock, both Caucasian, at Vanguard Studios in the Village. Bambaataa later admits in an interview, "I really made it for blacks, Latinos, and the punk rockers." That's what Bambaataa said.
That was the wave back then for a long time. The 80s and 90s, definitely the 90s. Because a lot of punk rockers, they turned to heavy metal. They had to dub that. But it was that scene, that CBGC, whatever they called it, that type of scene. Mm-hmm. And to some people, Bambaataa is like one of the godfathers of electronic music. It's where's the sound? You know what I'm saying?
This is what I'm saying. There's this thing with I'm gonna say, I don't know who has this. I think the Caucasian, the white supreme people in Europe they really like classification, right? So we have to classify. All of a sudden we have to class. You come out with a song and they say, okay, you got to classify your song. What do you think it is, right? But check it. The options they give you, they don't fit. So if Bambaataa makes a song and they say, all right, how you gonna classify this? Because we got to distribute it. And then he say, what's my options? He could say, all right, then we got rhythm and blues, we got gospel, we got rock, right? We got electronic is not out yet. So you got this new thing, which is hip hop, right?
Yeah.
He gonna choose the one that's closest. They put him in the one that's closest. But in all actuality, just because he came from the hood and he's a warlord doesn't mean, and he's a DJ, but it doesn't mean the music he made personally was hip hop at all.
And it's funny because you go to a Jamaican party, definitely in the 90s or 80s. Jamaicans was always known for throwing on Barbra Streisand in the middle of their set. He was known for throwing on the Phil Collins, a Paul McCartney song. And we were like, what the, you know what I'm saying? Then they realized when it came to our pioneers, they would play European songs. That was things that we didn't hear every day. Like we hear the Pointer Sisters, but we don't know what that A-E-I-O group. I remember when he was pumping that in the parties. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That sound. Be like, what's this? But Bam and them was pushing that electric sound. You hear me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because when we go into the monetization, like you said, some people look at Bambaataa as the godfather of electronic or techno. In that he's in that lane. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And this is a man that we say had the first street movement of hip hop that went commercial, paper wise. He had other crews like Baby House Committee, Itty Bitty House Committee, and all that stuff. But Zulu Nation on paper was like, this is the movement of hip hop. You hear me? Fab Five Freddy's the face. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I think his real life, he was a street dude. Like Bambaataa was a street. That's his real life though. But when you become an artist, you get to escape from reality for a minute, right? The fact that he's really a warlord and a real gang with hundreds, if not thousands, of members called the Black Spades.
Yes.
Right? He is that guy. Let's not get it twisted. He's that guy that you want to talk to when you need protection in New York at this time. Right?
I mean,
but that doesn't mean who's gonna listen to the soft side of Bambaataa, right? So now he's forced to be hardcore all the time. But guess what? When he get into that studio and he gets around some guys that he don't feel threatened by, that ain't talking jive, he don't feel threatened. Guess what? He becomes a different person. He gets to show a side that he don't ever get to show. So this is what gives us Planet Rock.
Yes. Now, we're going to talk about moving the culture forward from Planet Rock, right? We have to think about a movement that was pushed by DJ Red Alert or Kiss FM, right? And this movement, we would say, is Zulu Nation. It's Zulu Nation backing. And it's the new generation of Zulu on the radio. And you go, what you mean by that? The native tongues. Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah.
Jungle Brothers.
Girl I House You. Yeah.
Black Sheep, Queen Latifah. All that is the new generation of Zulu Nation.
Shout it out.
Yeah. Naughty by Nature.
Moni Love.
Moni Love. That's the new generation of D-Nice. She was a part of that. Apache. Rest in peace. 45 King was a part of that.
Shout out to 45
And these
King.
guys was mixing hip hop with house. A lot of house music, a lot of club music. It was a new generation of hip hop. The new generation of Zulu, but on the radio, the native tongues. That's when you hear early Tribe Called Quest, you hear Q-Tip mentioning a whole lot of Zulu Nation. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Right.
Because that was and that movement equaled over $500 million for the record industry. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Of course, man. Of course,
Platinum
man.
records, gold records. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Now, the Jungle. You brought up the Jungle Brothers, and we know one of their most famous songs, "Girl, I'll House You."
Yeah.
But again, I was telling the audience that the same time hip hop was being born, there was two other genres that was being born. One was
Freestyle in the house.
one was punk rock, and the other one was house music. Your
Yeah.
boy Robert Williams, he moved out to Chicago, right?
Mhm.
He gets in he starts working with Frankie Knuckles,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and they opened up a joint in '74 called The Warehouse. So
Those are the first waves. We could say those house parties was the first raves. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
right.
Bunch of beats. You dance to the beats and the sounds and the singing, the melodies. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
man.
remember there was a DJ called Tony Humphries. He was a big one. Because the first play all his R&B and hip hop. But then at like 12 o'clock at night on a Friday, Saturday night, for an hour, you would hear Tony Humphries playing that but house and freestyle. And to be honest with you, to keep it real with you, when you see all that gangsters in front of the Fever and them pictures that y'all see, they was playing freestyle music at the Fever. You know what I'm saying? That's when they was pushing, you know.
Shout out to all my Boricuas push.
Yeah.
Diamond Girl.
The killers is going in the club. Listen, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they bought the Village uptown.
Yeah.
Out the South. That's why if you hear Fever Records, you see a lot of those groups came out of here. Suave, TKA. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Yeah.
Who else, man? Stevie B. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mark Anthony. The Fever. You know what I'm saying?
And to me, Zeke, I'm gonna keep it real. Like, why do we have to always separate shit? Because all of these is dope genres that came out of New York, right?
Because I told you, it's the journalist. Okay, I'm a kid that I grew up in the 90s. I really wasn't outside, but I can't talk on this because I couldn't leave my porch. But I can only talk on what I see. So now I go to Yale University. These rich kids don't know what I'm talking about. You hear me?
Right.
So now I try to put myself someplace I don't need to be. So once somebody goes to you and go, yo, when did hip hop started? Yo, man, it started in '84. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Right.
And you're writing a newsletter for the school. These kids are going by what you're saying because they believe you're from there. You hear me?
Right.
And that's what happened. We allowed that for so many years, Saladin. We allowed that for so many years that now everything we just said to y'all, think about this. What happened at Stonewall is what opened people up to even bring graffiti artists downtown to go, we got to find a way to create revenue to fight this war. You hear me? Because these clubs that was allowing hip hop in was at one point getting extorted by cops. You hear me? And the mob. So now Zulu Nation becomes security now. You hear me?
Right.
It's revenue. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Yeah, it's revenue. Yeah.
All these top clubs, Peter Gation.
Yo, shout out to Peter Gation, bro.
Limelight.
Yes.
Studio 54 before it closed. The Ritz. Remember the Ritz?
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, the Palladium on 14th Street. All that.
Palladium.
Yeah.
So you got to think. Y'all just look at something because you read something from 10-year journalist. But that journalist really didn't do his research. Because when you say uptown, me being from Manhattan, when I say uptown, I'm saying Bronx, Mount Vernon, Yonkers. That's uptown to me. You hear me?
Right.
Upstate is Rockland County. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Yeah.
Poughkeepsie. That's when we start saying upstate. So we do know that people in the Bronx and Mount Vernon they always engaging, even if they wasn't going as far as Eden Wall or Bronxdale Avenue or some was hanging out in Co-op City. Those was hip hop vibes. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Yeah, all of that is all connected at the end of the day. All of that, Co-op City, Mount Vernon, Eden Wall. Where Wolf from again? Where Wolf?
Good Hill Projects.
Right. All of this is the same.
All this is the same, bro. So we're giving y'all really a conversation that y'all can dig into. So if it wasn't for the man that he just said, the original individual, that him and the lady has an idea, let's start bringing these graffiti artists down into our apartment to sell art. Mm-hmm. They created a movement. You hear me?
Yeah.
And then what joined the movement was a bunch of individuals. A lot of people don't even know. Again, hip hop's first major commercial move was when Michael Jackson did the moonwalk, because that moonwalk went viral. You hear me?
Yeah, that moonwalk went viral, but him setting his hair on fire also.
In the mix of the moonwalk and the pop box.
It definitely helped. Yeah, it definitely helped.
Your boy, what's his name?
Alfonso.
Your man Alfonso, your boy, the tap dance kid.
Yeah, the tap dance kid. That's a fact.
What's your man name, man? I'm about to take you there. Oh, man.
Not Servion Glover.
Nah, not him. Not him. But I know what school you went to.
Oh, okay.
And the man, Lionel Richie did All Night Long. I had the break dances in it.
Your man from
Hancock, he got the Grammy.
Yeah.
For, that sound, having that sound. Come on, man.
Yeah.
This is a monetization of hip hop. This is moving the culture even more forward when you're getting your top artists. Now, remember, I know Herbie Hancock for jazz. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. But here's the thing, Zeke.
They was a jazz player. You know what I'm saying?
But he wasn't about to let that time slip through his hands. He had to work with these hip hop artists because they was the new flavor of the tea. You understand? And that's the same thing for Andy Warhol and the rest of them. They're not gonna let this time pass by and not like work with these people in some sort of way. Like, it's not gonna happen.
Now think about this. Remember that song, "Don't Worry, Be Happy," right?
Yeah.
They put that under soul or hip hop, right?
Bobby McFerrin, yeah.
If Chevy Chase don't sit in that video, it's not on MTV. You hear me?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You hear me? Now, Chevy Chase comes from Saturday Night Live. Chevy Chase comes from the Saturday Night Live that had Eddie Murphy. You know what I'm saying? That generation of Saturday Night Live. So, these elements help move the culture forward through the singing, through the melodies, through the break beats. And I think because people follow these journalists, they don't understand somebody, right? Like even Lord Jamar bombing a train in 1986, 84 played a part to the culture. You know what I'm saying? You hear me? They don't know this.
Yeah, Lord Jamar wasn't bombing no trains in 84 though, but he
Peace to the God.
Peace to the gods, but nah. He told me the same thing. He was like, yo, I was carrying crates and all that. But, you know, this is the same God body that thought the earth was flat. So we gotta
Yo, you know what's funny? You know what's funny though? Is think about what came from the native tongues. Now we listen to we hear about the Chris Lady in the valleys. That really always shout them out because they'd be in the studio with him. I guess they went from carrying crates and being Red Alert's entourage to Chris Lady promoting the tunnel in other spots in New York City and managing some of the biggest rap artists at a point in time in their career. A man who's just part of Red Alert's crew of violators, you hear me?
Yeah.
And they call it the violators.
Now, I got the image up right now of a picture of Red Alert, Herbie Hancock, DJ Jazzy J, and in the back we got Bambaataa on the Wheels of Steel. Now, I didn't know. I think who are cousins? I think Red Alert and Jazzy J are cousins.
They're cousins, yeah.
Yeah.
But Jazzy J left Prince of Femme. He gave Red Alert his slide. That's where Red Alert took off. But Red Alert kept with the Zulu Nation. That's where think about it. A lot of people don't even know. They was playing De La Soul records in '87. That Plug 1, Plug 2. DJ was always up there with Red Alert. So they was creating this new wave
Oh.
of Zulu Nation hip hop through the native tongues. Yeah, he was up there with them. Yep, 87. Plug 1, plug 2. They was playing that in 87. You hear me?
Wow.
He used to be up there, the Claws or something like that. Because they was putting it together, and then they brought out more, boom, boom, boom. And then that's why by 89, you think about it, you had the Buddy remix with everybody that was native tongues, basically.
My
Every Tribe
buddy.
Called Quest, Jungle Brothers, Moni Love, Queen Latifah. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Nigga, I used to knock that shit.
And then Queen Latifah created Flavor Unit. That brought D Nice from BDP to Flavor Unit. This is, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Remember, so Zulu Nation, never, I would say band, but Zulu Nation never left hip hop. They tried to do it with Ice-T, with the Rhyme Syndicate, but it didn't go nowhere. Remember, the biggest thing that came out of Rhyme Syndicate, it wasn't Bronx Style Bob, but African Islam always DJ for Ice-T. You know what I'm saying? After a while.
Right.
Was Donald D had a song called FBI. I could Google this. But what came out of them was a guy named MC Everlast. You hear me?
Yeah, I remember Everlast, yeah.
Who went from them to the House of Pain, now he's rich.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
That's right.
Exactly.
Jump around. Jump up.
Now, so this is all Ice-T Rhyme Syndicate. This is what he used to call himself, bringing the Bronx to California. That song, you played yourself and all that was African Islam. You know what I'm saying? Even on the Color soundtrack, there's some Zulu Nation OKs, you know what I'm saying, on that soundtrack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know Ice-T was Zulu Nation. Yeah, a lot of people don't know. Yeah.
It was Zulu. And that's why Mickey Benson, who was like everybody's other first manager, was his manager for many years. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Okay.
Now look at the connections to Ben Bada. I'm not going to say the person, but one time, Mickey Benson's relative is a driver for the New York Knicks lawyer. You hear me?
Right.
So this is how tied in. This is how much Zulu Nation is tied in to the infrastructure of New York. You hear me? Your number one artist is on Law and Order for 30 years. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Yeah.
And your relative drives around the. That means that this guy still was in that mix because people made millions off of this hip hop thing. Not just in America, but also in Europe. People fail to realize. What's that guy who runs Jive Records? Jive, RCA, BMG, all that's the same label. You know what I'm saying? You hear me? He came uptown, Clive Davis. He gave the guy from Rooftop and Teddy Riley a deal, and Gene Griffin a deal to produce records in the back of a club. You hear me? You know what I'm saying? You hear me? People don't even know that Teddy Riley did a lot of production. Other than him being part of Uptown Records, he did a lot of production from Hi-Fi's first album. He did some tracks of Michael Jackson. He really did bring Michael Jackson to the Rooftop. You hear me?
Wow.
Because that's where the studio was at. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Got you.
Before it got robbed. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Got you.
Before Tom Cross robbed the joint, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Shout out to Tom Cross.
No, don't get it twisted. Once people see that these famous R&B artists started embracing this hip-hop thing, these labels got smart. That's why they say one of the biggest labels to invest in hip-hop was who? Jive Records. Remember, BDP, they had the Jive Records. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Yeah. I had did some research one time, and I lost all my research, but my research had shown that RCA was really a government record label.
Wow. In Europe? Oh,
no, in America. It was a recording. Okay, because RCA wasn't a record label at first. It stood for the recording of something of America, right? So it was really a more of an entertainment broadcast that, you know, eventually when music was able to be distributed, they just went ahead and moved into that area and extended their services. But they were always tied in with the United States of America as a subsidy.
Right.
Yeah, that's why to this day, you know, you figure out how so many record labels aren't around anymore, and RCA is still still around, bro. They was around through all the mergers and acquisitions and Island Records going out of business because Universal is selling this like hot flies, and RCA never went nowhere, bro. The whole time they just sitting there chilling.
Good. Think about taking it back there, right? Your man does his thing on the news, late 70s, early late 70s, talks about, I got this thing called Zulu Nation. We put this together, right? 5-5 Freddy. I told you, when they all sat down to put this pattern together, that's what people do. New York City, this mayor is against this graffiti thing, you hear me?
Right.
But this is the only thing that we can tie to that urbanness without having to go uptown. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we're gonna need to put these elements together to show people that we can monetize off this. And these club owners was okay with it because you have to because you need the okay to bring these performers downtown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because before hip hop, they wasn't bringing the average guy from uptown to dance at the Ritz. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
so now we have to allow these gangs in our clubs now. You know what I mean?
Because they are a fraternity in the community at the end of the day. And guess what? If you provide a place for them to go, if they feel ostracized everywhere else, but you have a night, because the Limelight used to have, people don't know, the Limelight had different nights. So if you show up on
I heard that at open night. Yeah, speak on it. Yeah, speak on that Limelight night.
Yeah. If you showed up at the wrong night, because say you came to town and your cousin brought you to the Limelight, and then you come back, you like, yo, I went to this place, and you try to show off to your friends, yo, I went to this place called the Limelight. Let's go there tonight. You may show up, and it's not the same thing, bro, at all. They got something different going on tonight, right? So you just had to really know which night to show up at these places, because you might really get surprised. But, going back to what you were saying, and the fact that we're talking on rebel music right now, because that's really what it is. That's all punk rock is. Punk rock is rebel music. Hip-hop is rebel music. Rebel doesn't mean ignorant. It just means I'm pushing against the system. So we got to remember when John Lindsay was the mayor in 1966, he put $10 million budget up to wipe out graffiti, bro. Right? But all you did to if I'm 13 and you say, yo, we putting out $10 million up to clean graffiti, you better believe I'm 13. I'm going right back out there and spraying over anything that you paint, bro.
Yeah, what we doing, yeah.
Right? So, and you're not going to shut us down. And that's where hip hop, this is where hip hop stands on the shoulders of these type of graffiti artists, of these type of rebels, which was mainly, yes, black, Puerto Rican, but you did have some cases where I'm not going to say just poor whites. You had poor whites, but you also have some, Zephyr's not poor. You understand? Yeah. He just wanted to get in with the movement. He's a youth at the same time. He want to get down with the get down. You understand? That shit is attracted to him. So he's out here getting busy too.
It's like J.A.1. J.A.1 follows a big producer, John Addison. That's why I think Colors, you've seen a lot of J.A.1 tags, because it follows the producer. I know it's one that Lean On Me. You might have seen J.A.1 tags in that, John Addison. But that's J.A.1. Nas mentioned him in the songwriters. He lived on the Upper West Side. Your man got a show. He come from that era too. What's his name, man? He has a show on XM Radio. I think it's Series, what's this guy's name, man? But his crew was CM on the Upper West Side. It was Dev and all of them. Now, all of them, they used to be around a kid called Curious George. MF Doom used to be down there, too, hanging out with them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, rest in peace, MF Doom.
Curious George is one of the, other than Fat Joe, he's the other Puerto Rican, B-boy that came out of hip-hop from the Upper West Side.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
They try to say Puerto Ricans wasn't there, right? But then you had cats like Batch, who was down with the Bronx Boys, TBB. You understand? Who these people don't never mention these type of people's names, bro. And I felt it was just disrespectful for a guy like Tariq Nasheed to say he did any type of research, or he called it journalism, and then you exclude the names of certain people, like I said, Batch, Jimmy Lee, right? Jimmy D. These people, their names deserve. I don't care what crimes they locked up for now. I'm not talking about that shit, right? I'm talking about what they contributed to what we now know as hip hop.
Yeah.
You gotta mention these guys' names,
Think
bro.
about it, right? What you just said. One of the Zulu Nations, one of the first hip hop wars was Zulu Nation versus the Ball Busters. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Right. Shout out to the Dominicans. Right.
And the Ball Busters used to go with people tags and all type of. They mentioned the Ball Busters, and I think Wild Style, yo, they be coming down here and they be going over our names, the Ball Busters. They was toying dudes' names. Shout out to the Dominicans.
That's right.
You know? That was one of the first hip hop wars. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
The Ball Busters versus Zulu Nation. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So if because what happens is, it's like I told you, who tells the story? I'm a young guy. I'm 14 years old from Manhattan, so I might be from 8th Avenue where there's only 2 Spanish families, so I rap every day. You know what I'm saying? So I look at it from my block. You know what I'm saying? Me?
Yeah.
I don't realize that on the east side, there's a whole movement. You know what I'm saying? Blacks and Puerto Ricans that's breakdancing, rhyming, spinning on their heads. You know what I'm saying? You hear me? The
Yo.
Frankie Cutlass, like you said, the engineers, the producers, the Frankie Cutlasses, and the Chill Wills from the east side, and you know what I'm saying? We don't know this because we're not going over this. So now what happens is, when you ask me about hip hop, you saying about my block. Yo, there was no Puerto Ricans, but you can't look at it from that when you're like 13 years old or 14 years old, taking it from that type of mindset. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Right. Right.
And that's what happened. God became the voices. You know what I'm saying? So when Tariq Nasheed started talking, but that's how I remember it. But you're wrong.
Right.
Because you can't mention the 5 line, the 2 and 5 line, without saying the NPC crew. That was a bunch of Russians and Albanians. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? The Bronx, Morris Ball crew.
Look, when the Warriors came out in what, 77?
Yeah.
So that movie right there showed you the demographics of New York alone. Right?
Yeah.
That was one of the illest movies, and today people would say that movie is part of hip hop culture. But it was ill because it really showed you.
You know what it did? It showcased the era before it. Like, that was the last era of me wearing some dirty jeans, having some dirty drawers on, and a jacket.
Right.
It turned into the B-boy era. Now, what came after that era was the Converse All-Stars with the tongue down, the Lees, right?
The Stan Smiths.
Shammer shirts, remember the Shammer shirts?
Right.
The Tigres, the dress code changed, the BBDs, when do-rags was fashionable, you know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Sergio Valente.
Yes.
Playboy.
This is when we began to dress different. This is when we had Cortez Nights. Was like, oh, what's that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The dress code changed, and as the dress code changed, we wasn't dressing like the how some of the black spades are still dressing. You know what I'm saying? But we called ourselves a clique. We was trying to be fresh. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Right.
Suit. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Right.
A sweatsuit. Some
Adidas. Eddie Murphy had niggas out here in leather pants.
Yeah, he definitely did. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Definitely with some white on whites. But what was it? I can remember 79 and 80. Those Pumas, those are like the sneakers, bro. The suede Pumas.
The suede Pumas, yeah.
They had a good run. They had like a 3-4 year old. I mean, you had Adidas in the mix. You had Carl. And Pumas, Pokeheads was there, but Converse also. Chuck Taylors. Those are the main 2, bro. You hear me?
Yeah.
And that was hip hop. But this is when you went to a block party, the Vietnam vets and you know the dope fiends, they drinking Wild Hours Road, Thunderbird, Night Train. You know what I'm saying? You got the crew in the corner smoking water. You know what I'm saying? Dudes just smoking, the vets are smoking marijuana, telling you war stories. It was a different time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There was a bunch of people together. It was all there together. You know what I'm saying? Only when he went to a certain area, you know what I'm saying, where, like I said, the ball busters going to war with Zulu, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the ball busters was beefing with everybody. You know what I'm saying? But they would cross mad people's names out. Like, they was habitual line crossers, you know what I'm saying?
Habitual line crossers.
You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
So
shout out to the Deceps, too.
That's what dudes remember. That's why they keep saying what they say. When you go to Upper West Side or Washington Heights, you got chased by 2,000 Dominicans. That's the type of time they was on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But these same crowd had their own hip hop culture.
Of
It
course.
was writing graffiti. They was breakdancing. You know what I'm saying? You know?
Right. And that's why I said it was a culture. It wasn't something that one dude just came up and was like, yo, hip hop. It didn't happen like that, bro. It did not happen like that. And let me tell you one thing. It damn for sure didn't happen in the South. So to let somebody control the narrative that's not even from New York, bro, it's as much as the world clung to it and what it is now, that's not. Always have respect for where it originated and why it originated.
What you just said. Hip hop in the beginning was all about the graffiti artists, right?
Right.
You get a guy named Flash. We had DJs, Cool Herc, shout out to Cool Herc, the rest of them, right? What's the other guy from Bronx Style? So we had Mario. Shout out to DJ Mario. All the originals, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. All the originals. We're going to shout you out. But Flash did something that was a little more different. Flash did that scratch. And that scratch took it from the graffiti artist, flipped it to the dancer now. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Yeah.
Because when he played certain scratches and certain records, the dancers knew they knew what to do. So he started playing them break beats and started cutting the scratch and bringing that record back. Somebody started doing the robot. And then somebody else would do the robot. And then it went from them dancing singly to them battling each other. You hear me?
Yeah.
So now when you go to a Flash party, dudes are telling Flash, yo, play this record. Yo, when I cut and scratch this record, get ready to battle. And that's what dudes is doing. That created the battle. So other DJs said, yo, he getting all the kids go to this party because he's breaking these records down and then they battling over these records. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. People was breakdancing to I Want to Rock with You because Flash is cutting and scratching it, bro. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is this, too. It wasn't, niggas always talking like, yo, that was black music. It wasn't always a black artist that they found. It was any song that they found a break to, bro.
The break to.
Any song that had a dope break, that is what they're playing at the party because that is when the kids are going to start to dance, bro.
That's why you hear even Beat Street, the breakdancing beat, once he got systematic, it was more so like freestyle music. You know what I'm saying? Do-dum, fast paced, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was all fast paced beats, like freestyle music, which turned into techno, jungle, whatever the case may be. Look what came from that other than techno, jungle music. And that sound that A$AP Rocky got. My boy was a part of Liquid Records that was pushing that techno sound, you know, that jungle music, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He come from that, you know what I'm saying? So all that came from hip hop. Like you said, experimented on records, you know what I'm saying? You hear me? That's why you have to recognize who was the A&Rs and who was the producers. We keep talking about the rappers and the dancers and the DJs, but who, the monetization of hip hop, who was sitting around at the table going, like Lisa and Cold Jam. That was like a freestyle song, bro. You hear me?
Come on, man. Come on. I wonder if I
She
take
just
you
had-
home, would you still be in love, baby? You know what I'm saying? Like all of that, man. Like you said, that was closer to freestyle. That was slightly off from Diamond Girl. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But when you played it in a club and just played the beat, this is what we broke dance to.
Yeah.
This is what we danced to. It was for the breakers. Shout out to East Harlem, Spanish Harlem. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm from, that's what I used to see. They play that type of sound, dudes start spinning on their necks. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We got to see that, man. And I think when people seen Beat Street, that's when we knew this is different. But this was our world. It wasn't like It wasn't like now how they make up drill music. These kids live that lifestyle. We come from something that was just like, this is us. This is our everyday actions. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Nah. The first hip hop, if you really want to be real, in my opinion, all that other shit was cool with the Big Hank stealing Grandmaster Caz's fucking music. All that shit was cute, but you don't really get your street first hit single until The Message. You know what I'm saying? And to me, The Message was art. It was like Mona Lisa to me. Why? Because this dude, he didn't have to be overly hardcore. He was just a dude from the hood that was telling you real shit. Like, that song had me scarred, bro, because he was basically saying, yo, dude went to jail. He wasn't ready for jail, and he came home undercover fag. Yo, what? That shit was like, I was devastated from The Message, bro. And the beat made you listen to the lyrics.
Yeah, facts.
Right? So,
yes.
It you know, there's a lot going on with that because not only
you're right.
When you look at what Melly Mel had on, he's not dressed like they would rap. He's really dressed like a punk rocker.
They a punk rocker. He all was cowboy. Recipes cowboy. He all was because you know what? That was the crowd that they was catering to. This is what the person who directed the movie said. We're dressing for the crowd because this video is not just being played in America, and it'll be played in Europe, and this might get played in Mid-America. Because remember, this is when we as hip-hop wanted to cross over to Mid-America. We always said Mid-America supports the music for some weird reason. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. Why do you think Run DMC it worked? Why do you think they went on one of the first big world tours? Them, the Beastie Boys. That was one of the smallest moves that Russell did was he signed them Beastie Boys. You hear me?
Shout out to the Beastie Boys, yeah.
All batteries. But then you had the Fat Boys that was on TV, right? We seen them in the movies.
Right.
Then we also had UTFO. We had Jazz. We had the Fresh Prince. We seen hip hop grow from the same circles. Like you said, Russell meets Jazzy J. Jazzy J, what came with Jazzy J? Zulu Nation. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Right.
Who's man's in Jazzy J? Most likely Mickey Benson. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Right. So, listen, Zeke,
You know what
I appreciate the conversation. I'm going to get back on track because I was really supposed to be talking about the obscenities and the nudity. But we had a great conversation. We got to do this again.
Yeah, again, I'm here for you, brother. I appreciate this, man. And it was a lot for me to take in, man. So just I hope you enjoyed the show. If y'all, whatever, just Google facts, ask some people, man. Just love hip hop. That being said, shout out to Wifey, St. Louis, Missouri. I love you. Yo, Saladin, peace.
Peace, bro. All right, we got Zeke Black on the check-in. You understand? Feed the Wolves is his Instagram. As you can see, he's an excellent historian when it comes to the streets. He's one of the few, man, that this dude, him and Bullets, man, they be knowing, they can remember times and all of that type of stuff. Now, I just want to, because my daughter's waiting for me so we can watch movies together, so I gotta hurry the show up, right? But what we were supposed to be talking about today is I was pretty much painting a picture on how the entertainment industry, including hip-hop, because hip-hop was not the only entertainment genre that was infiltrated with sexual deviancy, right? That's how I would like to say it, because that's really what happened, right? And I was trying to point out some of the people who wanted to collab with hip-hop artists that definitely had relationships with hip-hop artists. Here we see Keith Haring, who we all know was a do I still got my Keith Haring shirt? I used to wear this shirt to school. I didn't even know what it meant. And my teacher said, "Where'd you get that shirt?" I was like, "I don't know." And they was like, "Do you know who that is?" It ended up being Keith Haring's artwork. It was colorful, so I wanted the shirt. I didn't even know. I didn't think it meant you were gay to wear the shirt, but it was by a homosexual artist named Keith Haring. I think he passed away of HIV/AIDS. You understand? But he had a working relationship with the Fab Five Freddy's, a personal relationship. Fab used to party with these guys because they were all artists at the end of the day. And like I said before, there's no crime against whatever your choice to do personally. That's like, so what? Do you have talent at the end of the day, right? And saying that, I think Lil Nas X album actually was hot, and I'm glad it didn't catch on. Why am I glad it didn't catch on? Because me personally, I'm from a group called the heterosexuals, right? And I think personally they created Lil Nas to draw in more innocent minds in people so that they can try to convert them to homosexuality. I think that's pathetic because the thing is, if you're naturally a homosexual, that's one thing. If it's organic, that's one thing. I don't have anything to say about that, especially not on this show right now. But if you're going out your way to turn people homosexual at a young age, I think that's, to be honest, evil and demonic. That's what I think. Here we have Keith Haring, Grace Jones, Fab Five Freddy, right? We have Basquiat, Spike Lee, Andy Warhol, right? We have Keith Haring again. So I think I ended somewhere. I was somewhere right around here, right? And I just want to mention this clip right here. We started to see a lot of the industry change what the so-called masculine hip-hop man would wear as an artist. We started to see a lot of this. It did change at one point, right? You talk about 96, 95, a lot of army gear, a lot of Timberland boots, you understand? But then it got real. It went back to being kind of like metrosexual. And some of this is, in my opinion, not even metrosexual. I mean, when you talk about wearing skirts and dresses, these type of skirts and dresses are typically worn by women. So to say we want to see if we can get men to pull this off, here we have A$AP Rocky in a dress, right? Now he's trying to freak it to the best of his ability. He got some tights underneath there, some double socks, and some Timberland boots, right? So this is what I call behavioral engineering, trying to normalize things that would be otherwise taboo or deviant in a conservative heterosexual culture. Then again, this guy here, Malcolm McLaren, don't ever forget him, because for some reason he was led over here even after all of his deviant behavior in the UK. He comes over here $350,000 in debt, and he immediately sees a culture that he can probably culture vulture, right? And that was going to be hip hop. He ends up doing a song with a group that is credited as the first hip hop group to incorporate the 5% teachings slang into their music. The group rose to international prominence when Punk Impersonario and The definition of an impersonario: a person who organizes and often finances concerts, plays, or operas. So, impresario. So my thing is, I think he came over here like a, what is this guy? Jeffrey Epstein. He came over here with a budget, and he was going to try to. He came over here with a budget and a plan. Here we see him with the 5% nation of the gods and earths, right? Just Allah and Say Divine. In 1983, the group and their radio samples were featured on McLaren's full album, Follow Up Duck Rock. I think this is culture vulturing, man. I do. But bigger than all of that, I think since he was going to culture vulture anyway, he was going to what? He was going to also see if he can contaminate this culture with his taboo. It says, Say Divine says here, yeah, you know, the one true thing about Malcolm, and I kind of seen it coming out the gate just by the way he communicated to me. But I hate to call him an opportunist, but that was what it is. Some people are able to see what's going on, what's going to happen. Black, white, green, it don't matter. Through being in the industry and through his Sex Pistols group back in the days, and that track they put out, I think is called God Save the Queen. It became a record that was banned in England. He knows how to get that attention. So he, again, this is one of your first trolls right here. This is one of your first trolls, right? So that was a good conversation. I want to bring it back to what we're even talking about. So at the Grammys, you had Chappell, Roan, and I was just kind of like, why? Right? Why do this and try to call it art? What is the point? Because it's not art, in my opinion. It is truly rebellion. So it says, at the Grammys, bad taste had a good night. Does bad taste make for good fashion? At the 2026 Grammys Awards, several celebrities opted for clothes that were a little bit odd and a little ugly. Arguably, they were also the most memorable. Amid some of the more conventional, tasteful outfits, Halle Bieber in a black strapless dress, or Madison Beer dolled up in Andrew Kwan gowns. Okay. Sheer on stage in leather and lace look with a shredded leather skirt gave the distinct impression it was falling down. I want to get to this one here. Chappell, Roan in a custom Mugler nipple class dress, a remake of the original salacious dress from 1998, reissued with prosthetic aureoles. So that's the original right there. And again, why are you doing these things? Only to be rebellious, I'm going to assume. But what company said, yeah, we don't mind advertising because we know it's going to get attentions, right? So I guess that's what it comes down to at first. It's like, nah, if they do that, I do want to advertise because everyone's going to want to see this shocking thing. They're going to want to see this shocking woman walk out with her breast out. Bad Bunny wears a dress. Let's read this. When did this come out? This came out 17 hours ago. Bad Bunny certainly has a style all his own. The Puerto Rican artist, real name Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio. That's too many. That's too many names, bro. That's 4 names. Knock it off, blood. Is one of music's biggest stars, known for his dulcet voice, command. I don't listen. You know what I'm saying? Distinct dialect of Caribbean Spanish, full of so many skip consonants. Spanglish. All right. He may be revered for his Latin trap tunes, but Bad Bunny is a versatile figure in the music industry, having melded salsa, merengue, reggaeton influences into something fresh and compelling. And his music may be dope. Maybe I do listen to it and I just don't know it's him. I'm not going to say I don't listen to him because he's gay. Unless he's talking about gay behavior, right? Luther Vandross, I believe, might have been a homosexual. But I don't know because Luther Vandross wasn't singing outwardly about a guy. Does it make me homophobic that I turned off Frank Ocean as soon as I found out he was talking about a guy? No, it doesn't make me homophobic. It makes me aware. It makes me conscious that I don't want to sing about falling in love with a guy or having sex with a guy because I'm a heterosexual, right? I think the mind games that these PR people who really want to push the agenda is crazy. Like, they try to make you seem insecure because you have principles or you have things that you believe in, and you don't agree with these other things, and they make you feel like you should be ashamed of something like that. No, bro. I don't want to sing about doing things with a guy. That's not my culture. That's not what I'm... And guess what? There's nothing wrong with me wanting to preserve my culture with my family and saying, yo, check this out. I don't want my kids... I would prefer them to be heterosexual, so I would prefer you not to sing homosexual melodies. Right? That's different from someone that is homosexual singing a song. If you're homosexual and you sing a song, I may love the song. But again, everything is not for everybody. It says, is Bad Bunny gay? Bad Bunny is not gay. All of his known romantic partners are cisgender women. Here we go. Now, I don't like when I have to look up stuff, bro. Here we go with the stupidity. All right, I'll fall for it. What is a... I'll fall for it. Cisgender. The word cisgender describes a person whose gender identity corresponds to their sex assigned at birth. Someone who is not transgender. The prefix cis is Latin. It means on this side of. The term cisgender was coined in 1984. Stop the cap, bro. So, I'm confused. And I think that's the point. It's just to confuse me. Right? What? I guess we're going to ChatGPT. I didn't want to go to ChatGPT, but I guess we're going there, right? Damn. Here we go. What does cisgender mean? Here we go. Cisgender means that a person's gender identity matches the sex they were assigned with. So why? That's it. No ideology baked in. Hold on. This is so stupid. We never used this word before. Why am I all of a sudden hearing this word in media. You're right. This word was not part of everyday language for the most of your life. You're hearing it now because of a recent shift, paradigm shift, in academic language moving into mass media. Hello. Welcome to society, past, present, and future. Why you never heard cisgender before. For most of modern history, man and woman were treated as the default. Hello? Only people who didn't fit the default were labeled transsexual or later transgender. The majority group didn't need a name. They were just considered normal and standard, so there was no social reason to name it. Cis is Latin for on the same side. It was used quietly in academic and medical writing as early as 1990s. It stayed inside universities, gender studies, and policy circles. Why are you hearing it now? Around the mid-2010s, several things happened at once. Gender theory moved from academia into institutions, HR departments, school universities, media-style guides, corporate diversity training. Media adopted academic framing. Okay. Once media accepted transgender as a category, we spoke about categories earlier, they needed a contrasting term. Cisgender filled that role. I understand now. Language shifted from default to categories. Exactly. Instead of one unnamed norm and one exception, everyone now gets labeled. Okay. Let me say this. I feel like this. Well, I want to say this. Eagerness to label everyone comes from white supremacists. What say you? I hear what you're getting at, and I'm going to answer this carefully, honestly, without dismissing your instinct, because your question isn't random or stupid. It actually is a question a lot of scholars do wrestle with, just using different language. Let's separate intent from origin. The modern eagerness to label everyone does not come from overt white supremacist movements like the KKK. No, that's not who I'm talking about. But it does trace back to European. Here we go. That's who I was talking about. It does. I never said KKK. I was actually talking about Johann Blumenbach and the rest of them, but he might mention them. It does trace back to European classification systems that were later weaponized by white supremacies, you see? So a lot of times I try to leave race out my conversation, but it's hard to, because if I'm too politically correct, I'll end up shortchanging everyone, and I don't want to do that. Where the labeling impulse really comes from, the obsession with categorizing human beings comes from Enlightenment era Europe, the rise of scientific racism. Oh, you see? And that might have been the first time I heard of that term. Scientific racism is wild. Bureaucratic state systems that needed people sorted, counted, and managed. Let's talk about it. This is sociology. This is why I love this topic. Because when you see that it's nothing spooky. There are systems, tactics, agendas, real tactics put in place. But you may not see it, so you don't know how to articulate it until it's too late. Think race, blood quantum, caste, sex, later, IQ, now identifying categories. This framework was perfected under colonialism and slavery. So your instinct isn't wrong. It's just one layer deeper than white supremacists did this on purpose. How white supremacists fits into this. White supremacists thrived on labeling because it requires rigid categories. It needs people sorted into hierarchies. It depends on defining norm and deviation. I understand now. Now I understand. They have to be able to matriculaze everyone so that they can organize everyone and then monetize off of everyone. I understand now. I understand now. I understand now. Listen, y'all, I stayed here way longer than I was supposed to, and I appreciate everyone that really rocked out with me. I gotta go watch TV with my daughter. I mentioned the movie Alive once, and she wants to watch Alive. She thinks she wants to watch Alive. We're gonna see if she really wants to watch Alive. I will fill you in on her reaction to watching the movie Alive with her poppy. And but thank you for rocking out. We have some strides to make over here because I'm taking that other name out the algorithm, right? Because they already got it pegged with all type of stuff. I deleted a bunch of videos. I still have to delete a bunch more, but we're gonna keep the, it may take us 3 months, but we'll get to where we need to get to. We need to be consistent, and that's that, right? So in 7 minutes, I actually have a new video dropping. So by the time I end this, a new video will upload, and I hope you enjoy that video. And then I have another video popping out tonight. You understand? So we're just going to work. That's all we're going to do is work right now. So thanks to Abria. Thanks to this effing guy. Thanks to Original Man. Thanks for everyone that came over. You did hit the like button. You didn't hit the like button. You stayed for a while. You enjoyed the conversation. It's all good. It's all good. Hit the like button now. You know what I'm saying? I think Roby found us too. I'm not sure. I think Roby found us. I know Winter. Oh, did I say Winter? Shout out to Winter. I didn't say Winter. Shout out to Winter. She was the first one here. Kenny Mack from DC. Shout out to Kenny Mack. You understand? Yeah. A lot of people don't know we here yet, and that's okay. Our tribe will find us, right? So I'll do way less profanity. What else? I'm not going to talk that much on French stuff. If I do, it will be members only videos. People who talk about that type of stuff. But other than that, yeah, we good, man. So share the video. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thanks for watching. You understand? I appreciate y'all for coming out. And we'll talk later. Peace out.